Well, hey, Charlton family. Hope you're doing well. I miss being with you all. Like many of you, I've been participating in the weekly worship services right here from my home with family, with Jolie and the kids, these last 2 Sundays. We'll actually be doing it again this coming Sunday. You see, back on November 24th, which was the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, we went to spend some time with my parents, and unfortunately, it also happened to be the same night that my dad began to experience a fever and other COVID-like symptoms. And so we came home and have been strictly quarantining ever since. My dad was tested the next morning, and his results came back positive for COVID. And a few days later, on Monday, November 30th, Jolie and I both started to experience the exact same symptoms. We actually just got our test results back earlier this week and found that our family has also tested positive for COVID-19. Thankfully, we're all doing really well. Our symptoms were very mild and didn't last very long. Maybe just a lingering headache now and again at times. Thankfully, my parents are also doing really well with really very mild symptoms. And we're really thankful for that. And at the same time, I'll be honest, we're getting pretty antsy here. We feel like we've been cooped up in our homes since November 24th. And although our quarantining is almost complete, I can tell you that I am longing to get out of this house. You see, that feeling, that longing, is an emotion that the season of Advent is designed to create in us. The word Advent means coming. And the season of Advent, where we are right now as a church leading up to Christmas, is where we look back at the first coming, the first Advent of Christ. And as we reflect on that, we find in ourselves a growing longing for his second coming, his second Advent. Galatians chapter 4 says, "But when the set time had fully come, God sent his Son, born of a woman." Which means that there was a set time for Jesus' first coming, which we can look back on and we celebrate at Christmas. And there's also a set time for Jesus' second coming, his second Advent, which we're waiting for, and we don't know when it will be. Only the Father knows. But bottom line is, waiting is a problem for us, isn't it? We live in this microwave society where we have one day Amazon shipping and instant everything. Do you remember the days of dial-up internet where we actually had to wait for our internet? Now everybody's got 3G, 4G, and 5G, right? We've grown to hate the idea of waiting. And when we feel a longing inside, we work really hard to satisfy that immediately. We hate waiting. But then there are things that happen in our lives where we can't do anything but wait. And it's in those moments where we have the opportunity to tap into this same emotion, the same feeling of longing that Advent is designed to create. And so for me, over the last couple of weeks, it's been a longing for quarantine time to end. Maybe for you, you're just longing to recover from some other illness or for a healing. Perhaps you're longing for a spouse or children, longing not to be isolated or to feel alone. Everyone is longing for COVID to just go away, right? There's so many different things that we're longing for. What is it for you today? And my encouragement for us is this: don't run from that longing. It's incredibly hard, but resist the temptation to medicate it with food or alcohol or the Christmas feels. But instead, in that longing, find yourself running to Jesus over and over again, the one in whom is life, the one whose first Advent promises to make everything right and whose second Advent will bring that to full completion. These longings that we have are reminders that things are not as they should be, and they're not as they will be one day. And so as we long now for that day when Jesus returns, because when he does, he will wipe every tear from our eyes. Our faith will become sight, and we'll be with Jesus face to face, experiencing the fullness of life and joy that is found in his presence forever, with no sin, no suffering, in a day when all of our greatest and deepest longings will be fulfilled in the presence of Jesus. And just to promise that, to give us a down payment, God has given us his Spirit now so that we can taste that today. That eternal life is not just a far off thing, but it's a today. And yet until that day when Christ returns, friends, let's press in, let's lean into that longing, resting in the promises of God and encouraging one another in our faith. And so my prayer is that God would meet you today in your longings, and that he would increase your faith in him and through that this Christmas.